we'll be able to apply all these concepts. As historical type, uh, sometimes for us in every to the interpretation of the text, the setting comes not only as the place, such as Cape Coast, such as University of Cape Coast, such as Department of English, but then these places also come in with a lot of other implications, and we shall soon see. For example, sometimes it influences the spiritual background, it influences cultural background, it influences the rituals that we perform. All of them are involved. So the physical setting, as in how we see the place. Those of you in geography talk about the the features, the trees, whether it is a forest zone, whether it is a coastal area, and so on. Is it mountainous? Is it a plain land? What kind of job do people there do? Is it farming community? What kind of belief system is there? Is it a civilized community? Is it a primitive community and all that? So as the reader identifies these elements in the setting, then we'll look at the relevance of these elements in the setting to the interpretation of the text. Now, I mentioned these. I hope you keep them in mind because we're applying them to the books we are reading. We'll soon be talking about Animal Farm. And in Animal Farm, we have most of the things I've mentioned here applying in Animal Farm. So the location is very important, not just the location, the features of the location, the things that are in the location, they are all important to that. When we talk of the setting as in time and place, we can also connect them to, for example, time and place, connect them to historical dates and so on. In some places, we will not have the specific historical dates mentioned, but we can make inferences and then realize that, yes, if this and that happened at that time, this is the book, then it could be such and such a year, such and such a time, and so on. Yeah. So we'll look at these, identify them, and then be able to see their relevance in the work. Landmarks are very important in all these. So even if we don't have specific times and specific places, landmarks can be there to help us. In some cases, we can have writers also fictionalizing even known times and known places. Known times and known places, you can fictionalize it. For example, there's a book titled Anwa by Amata Edu. Amata Edu sets the book to her in Abra. And the Abra that she set the book, we will take Sabro Dunkwao in the central region, Asibu Kwaman district. But if you look at some of the features that she puts in the book, the features are not the Abrodunko features, but then they are more like a Chako, a village where she comes from, those features. In other places, you see a combination of them there. So writers can also fictionalize the settings and the landmarks of the settings in order to create the effect that they want to create. I've mentioned it, let me say it again, that in literature, Whatever the writer puts in the book is very important to a complete understanding of the book and complete analysis of the book. Good. Now, let's also understand that setting also influences the character. The setting influences the characters. The characters' behaviors are linked to the settings. The characters' names, the characters' appearances, the characters' language, the characters' thoughts, thinking process, the characters' beliefs, whatever the character does is influenced by the setting in time and in place. For example, if I read a book and I come across a name like Mau, obviously this is a person from Mau means God, right? But the Mauna, this is a person from Bota region. Now, if you see this Mauna from Bota region, and then his best food is TZ, then we want to ask ourselves, how come I wanna fall in love with TZ? Right? I know Ashantis, for instance, are short, naturally, dwarfish in nature. So if I have somebody called Osebunsu, and that person is tall and huge, I may want to wonder, why is this person just tall and huge? What might have influenced it? Right? I have somebody called Na Ayeli. Obviously, she's a Gan. But then she speaks English so well that there's no intrusion with her H sounds. Then I ask myself, where does she come from? Where did she live? So the setting, time and place as in setting, influence character behaviors, character thoughts, and character attitude and so on. Right. I've also mentioned that religion, rituals that we go through are all determined by the geographical context, the settings. The same way yeah, Elvis.
Hello, Doc. Please, good morning.
Good morning.
Doc, please not interrupt your class, but I was asking if it would be possible for you to share your screen with the class.
Not yet.
Okay.
They have the slides that they're following. Yeah.
Okay, because my boss has been passing through the link checking sometimes, and they've always been asking me to remind the lecturers to share their links. So
All right.
that's what I want. Thank you so much, sir. God bless you. Thank you.
Welcome. All right. So I was saying that the certain influences the religious beliefs of our characters. For example, if we go to Animal Farm, it is a book that does not have anything to do to religion. In fact, if we decide to go even beyond uh, Animal Farm as a political text, and we look at the concepts that are developed in the book, concepts that are well situated in the Russian community, where most of them are atheists who don't believe in anything about God or anything religion. There's no mention of religion in the book because of that location, because of what it reflects. Right. In that same book, you look at the dress code of the characters. For example, when Napoleon finally became the dictator that we see in the book, a pig wearing a suit, a tailed coat. Which people wear that? The setting as mentioned in the book dictate that for us. If you come to Cloud of Nakedness, the belief in ancestral wisdom opens the book. It opens the book in the title. And the title is Clothes of Nakedness, which means that if a naked person says he give you clothes or promises you clothes, ask of his name. Just into the book, the epithet, we have 2 more proverbs there. You go into the book proper, and there are a number of transliterations. So the language that characters speak, the language that is used in writing the text, are all defined by the settings of the book. Setting as in time, as in place. They influence characters, they influence behaviors, they influence attitudes, they influence religions, they influence everything. If in future you are called upon to discuss sociocultural relevance of setting in any given text, please don't be found wanting. Right. So when we look at setting, our conclusion is that yes, there can't be a good analysis of any text without looking at the setting. There can't be. What the setting defines for us, the themes, the things that are used in the book, the artifacts, the physical things, and all that. They are all influenced by the settings. Let me also mention that we will be looking at the book titled Death and a King's Man in Grammar. Now, a quick connection. When I mention historical connection, that book, for instance, is a typical historical text. And it tells that the content of that book, the content of that book is something that actually Oyo State in Nigeria. That has fictionalized this historical element of the people's life. Right. And it also with the African concept, this is evidently shown in the sorry, I think I'm getting blocked nose. The period is never there. In 2000, the setting of the book dates back to colonial times. For example, Animal Farm that we are going to read was published in 1940s. But the story it tries to capture situate within the Industrial Revolution. When the animals ousted Mr. Jones, and they became their own bosses. They started industrialization. And that's industrial revolution. Way back in 1700s. Even if we're to come to a bit more recent times, the book was published in 1940s, but then the revolution that happened took place. The Russian Revolution took place in the 1917, 1716, that was during the First World War. So the time of publication is very different from the setting as in time. In the same way, the place of publication is also different from the setting as placed in the book. A good example, if you look at Animal Things Fall Apart, a book that most of us are familiar with, it was published in 1958, right? But the book starts from colonialism, in fact, pre-colonial times. It starts in pre-colonial times, where human sacrifice and other things were seen as a normal thing. Into colonial period, where colonialism came in strongly, putting brakes on pre-colonial rituals, such as human sacrifice and so on. And then into the post-colonial. So if you put all this together, you realize that the type of publication is very different from the setting in time. The same as the place of publication is different from setting as in place. Right. Any question up to this point? Any question up to this point? Hello?
No, sir, please.
All right. So there are no questions. Let's look at the literary significance of setting. The literary significance of setting. I've mentioned some of them already, but let me give a quick summary of them and we'll move on. Now, I've said that the setting helps us to achieve several goals. The setting provides landmarks. The setting provides indicators. The setting provides directions as to how we interpret the work. The setting provides a lot of information for us. Now, the first we're talking about is that, please mute yourself. The setting provides description of time, of place, weather, furnishings of the room, the paintings of the room, other elements and so on. The thing that we see, we use, our televisions, our cooking utensils, the kind of clothes we wear, and all these things. Now, if the setting does all these, then setting helps us to see the reality of the story. That is, we manage to see the story in its real sense. The sense of imagination gets a bit removed. So the setting enhances the very similitude the story, very similitude of the story. So verisimilitude means what? Very similar to reality. Verissimilitude. Very similitude.
Sir, please, can you come again?
As a verisimilitude draws our attention, makes the work very, very similar to reality. And it imbues the text with a degree of credibility. It gives the text a degree of credibility. And as spells verisimilitude as very, Verissimilitude. Verisimilitude. The weather, the atmosphere, the clothes, the behavior of people, the language, the styles of working, the things they use, all of them, they come together to make the story look real. That is verisimilitude. So setting enhances verisimilitude. Again, setting creates culture. Don't forget that every society is defined by its culture. And that if I go to a book, a novel, the setting in the novel will definitely evoke the general culture of the story. So, as I mentioned earlier, The Cloud of Nakedness is a book set in a place called Nima in Accra. That is, the book reflects the lifestyle of Nima. And you and I know, those of us who are familiar with Accra and Nima, will know what Nima stands for. That Nima is not a place belonging to one group of people. It's made up of amalgamation of people. In fact, people from all over West Africa find themselves there. It has a huge population with a high degree of underdevelopment. Now, very close to Nima, which is underdeveloped, is Kanda, a place of affluence, a place of riches, a place of high class living. And as I speak to you, if you could drive through Nima, drive through Kanda, you will see these things. So therefore, the writer, in drawing our attention to the fact that this is Nima in the book, we are given the opportunity to see the behavior of the people there. So therefore, it's not surprising that a group of workers, a group of people, men who do not work, would go and sit at the drinking spots and then have all kinds of chats, all kinds of conversation. It's not surprising that at such a place, the one who wants to exploit others will also come in his flashy car, in his suit, and then shades and come and stand there. It's not out of place. It's not out of place that such a place. I'm not saying that is the obvious thing, but then somebody life will be so difficult for someone to say that I will not care for my child, therefore the child should go and look for something to do, take off himself. Not surprising. Nima, close to Nkrumah Circle, it's surprising that in Nima will walk or stroll to Circle to go have fun in Circle. It's not surprising. The same way if you go to animal farm, the culture there. So we're looking at culture influence, the names that are given, influence the beliefs that are there, influencing the food we eat, influencing the attitudes we put up, and all those things. So the setting gives cultural identity to the characters. So reference to the things that I've mentioned clearly establishes the books, the novels, the drama that we are going to read as a reflection of life situations, and that they are not just uh, imaginative things. Yes, we agree that they are imaginations, but then the effective use of the setting moves away the imaginations and make the works real. Setting in time also influences unique sociocultural conduct and lifestyles. Setting in time would influence unique sociocultural uh, conduct and lifestyle. For example, for example, um, if you're talking about 2025 setting in a place called a place like Tichima, um, too much of a city, neither is it too much of a village, right? So today, if you go to Tichman today, you will see people living a kind of life that is close to even wear trousers to church, even the Pentecost church. As for ITGC and the Lighthouse and the Methodist and the Roman, you can do that with ease. But a church like Pentecost that used to be so thick on how its members dress and so on. Today, certain as in time has given liberty, has liberalized how or what people wear. So if you go to a place like Tichiman, as I've mentioned, which is neither a city nor a village, but there's an opening up community with a lot of riches, money, and so on, and the people desiring to have a kind of modern life. Yeah, you see them going to church. Even the Pentecost church, they now have what PRWC. Is that right? Because they believe that the young ones who want to speak English want to go to churches with English as the medium of communication. So they will quickly find it convenient going there. So that PRWC and PRWC, because of those who go there, the rules are very much relaxed. Am I wrong? Is there a PRWC member on this platform?
Yes, please, Prof. You're on point.
All right. So if what I'm saying is right, then it reflects certain as in time. You cannot go to a village church and go and wear trousers. They say no. But if you go to a place that is in tune with time, you can do it. Again, if you look at a book like Things Fall Apart, the time of its setting, as in the pre-colonial times, as I mentioned earlier, it was very easy to sacrifice in Kamefuna, and nobody would do anything. If you look at the book, when Kamefuna was sacrificed, nobody said anything to the one who sacrificed in Kamefuna, the people, those who sacrificed him, except that it was very immoral on the part of Okonkwo to have killed the boy himself, though the boy calls him father. Meaning that it is very, very wrong for a father, very wicked for a father at any point in time, or a mother at any point in time, to say that I'm sacrificing my child for A or B or C. Very immoral, very wicked. And obviously, I would say it's very wicked to sacrifice human being of any kind for anything. It's very, very, very unacceptable. But at that time, it was okay among the Igbos. It was okay. If there's a need to sacrifice, we'll do it. Even here in Ghana, Gold Coast, they were doing it. But today, setting in time, it is very wrong. You'll be arrested and dealt with. And we see a number of them on our social media. Even those who try to discipline their own children, they are found on social media and then disciplined. So setting in time influences behaviors. Setting also influences mood. And in this instance, I am referring to specific settings. For example, if we are reading a text and we see a point where there's cloud, or the weather is very cloudy, and I'm referring to the book titled In the Shadows of Imana, where at a point in time the narrator takes us to the seer who lives on the mountains, and they invite the spirits of the dead, and then have an engagement with the spirit of the dead, and the spirit of the dead ask questions. Now, because this is a spiritual thing, the invocation of the spirit of the dead came with cloudiness. When we watch our movies, the local movies, for example, the Nigerian movies, and we are taken to a shrine, you realize that the shrine does not come with bright mood. No, it's a bit cloudy. In the same way, if the atmosphere is cloudy, the setting is cloudy, and so on, it might also impact on the feelings of the characters, especially in drama. If the setting is bright, the setting is a happy setting, kind of, we expect characters to also be happy. But the setting is moody. The atmosphere is moody. We expect the characters to be sad. So therefore, we have the relationship between the environment and the characters. There's that beautiful reflection. Now, a writer may also use settings for very important effect. For example, if we are drawn to riverside, if we are drawn to marketplaces, if we are drawn to supermarkets, if we are drawn to shrines, if we are drawn to church, if we are drawn to school communities and so on, what are all these for? Right? So the setting could influence so much in the post-fiction. Our real understanding of the culture, our real understanding of people's behavior, our real on setting. Right. It's on setting. Then on your own, I want you to do those assignments for me. If you do it, fine. If you don't do it, that's your own problem. I want you to pick any of the books that we are going to study. Let me be specific with Nafa. Then you identify the settings, plural. We have a broader setting, and we have specific settings there too, and then discuss the relevance of these settings to the development of the plots. I was saying that you pick Animal Farm, which has a very big one main setting. And within this one main setting, there are other minor, smaller settings that reflect immediately on the conduct of the characters. So pick any three of such settings, and then the settings. 2, the complete development of the text of the novel Animal Farm. I hope it's clear now. All right.
God, please, the link seems to keep on breaking. I don't know if you can write it on the in-call message for us. I don't know. Thank you.
The next thing we are looking at is the narrative approach. We mentioned that drama is a performance. Drama is a performance on a stage. Prose fiction is a narrative. In fact, the dominant approach of presentation, that can be dialogue, there can be monologue or whatever, but then it is mainly a narration. So in your simple terms, you say point of view. And as we develop, it becomes, I refer to it as perspectives of narration. Perspectives of narration. In perspective of narration, I'm looking at how the stories are narrated to us. Either the narrator is part of the story, or the narrator stands outside the story, or the narrator gets somebody to do the story, or the narrator gets us to watch, observe the story. These are all approaches. So we'll take them one by one and talk about them. Let us also understand that we're going to mention a number of approaches, perspectives of presentation, of narration, and each one comes with its unique advantages and disadvantages. Right. Can you please mention some of the points of view that you know? Can you please mention some of the points of view you know? Yes.
Prof, please, we have the first person point of view. We have the omniscient.
Take your time. Take your
Also,
time. So, first person point of view.
yes.
I see. Mercy, your hand was up.
All right, so we have the third person point of view too.
Mercy.
So please, I said we have the third person point of view as well.
Go down.
Okay, Prof. Thank you. The third person point of view, we have the third person limited and the third person omniscient.
Omniscient. All right. Let us establish thus that point of view, point of view, perspective from tells the story. In other words, in other words, it shows the relationship between the narrator and the story. It establishes the relationship between the narrator and the story. In other words, I'm saying that the point of view refers to the involvement of the narrator in the story. I know in simple terms, you will say that it is the angle from which an author tells his or her story. The position the author takes to tell the story. These are our points of view. Right. So if we understand these, then we can say that the story could be presented from one or more perspectives. Where one, a narrator may be so obvious to say that this is my story.
Hello.
I know the line is breaking, that's why I break. When it breaks, I break and I come again, right? So I was saying that we can have a situation where a narrator will say that this is my own personal story. This is a story about me. So I am telling my own story. So in this situation, we are talking of kinds of first person narration. First person narration. Can we mention the type of stories that come out of first person narration? Can we mention any type of stories that come out of first person narration? Yeah, let's see. Abigail.
Sir, please, the girl who can.
Oh, I'm not talking of titles. I'm talking about types of novels that come.
Oh, okay.
Steven.
Prof, please, autobiographical novel.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So we have autobiographical novels. Sometimes it is autobiographical novel, but the author may inject so much imagination into it that we may not conclude that this is an autobiography, but we just see it as a novel. But then when you go deep into it, you realize that the author, the narrator, was speaking about himself, and that makes it autobiographical. That makes it autobiographical. Thank you. So we have a lot of such stories. Almost all stories that have the I, the first person narrative approach, they are autobiographical. What you call memoirs, what you call Bergdorf's romance are mostly autobiographical in nature. When I can mention a book titled Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, that is a clear example of autobiographical, fictionalized autobiographical text. A very good example of fictionalized autobiographical text. If you have time, you can read that book. If you have time, you can read that book. Right. We can also have a situation where the narrator will say that, okay, me, I'm not part of the story. I was just sitting somewhere and I was observing what was going on. I'm not part of the story. I'll sit somewhere and observing what was going on. So in that sense, the character has no relationship with the story. The narrator has no relationship with the story. He or she is only a narrator, an observer, a reporter, right? So unlike the first person narrator who feels, who sees, in the third person narrator, there isn't that connection. There's a distance between the narrator and the story. There's no relationship between the narrator and the characters. In the first person narration, the narrator has a relationship with the characters, the narrator has a relationship with the story. In the third person, that is not so. That is not so. Right. Now, I was going to ask a question. Is there any difference between a third person narrator and omniscient narrator? That's the question I want to ask. Gives your hand is up. Stephen, I think your hand should go down now. Yeah, Gifty. Gives your hand is up. All right. Can anyone answer my question? Yeah, Mercy.
Sir, please, I want to say that with the third person narrator, as you said, and the narrator just explains the story, but with an omniscient point of view, the narrator enters into the thoughts, like he knows everything about them. He knows the thoughts, what they are thinking, everything. That's what I think.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, any other? Yeah, Adam.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc. With the third person narrator, the narrator uses the pronouns that's he, she, they to describe the characters. But with the omniscient, it talks generally about the inner life of the characters. He knows everything about the characters.
Yeah, Adam. In the third, he uses the pronouns. I said, all right. But in the omniscient, two pronouns are also used. Let's add
But
that
in a
word.
way, the third person is limited.
Pronouns
It
are
doesn't
also
the third okay. But I want to say that with the third person narrator,
pronouns are also used.
okay.
Good. So you ended. Yes, any other? Any other? All right. Let me make it clear. Yeah, Anita.
Please, I also about to say that with the third person point of view, he's he or she, the narrator is not sure. Is sometimes not sure of a certain event or certain things, but with the omniscient is very sure of his or her narration or whatever is going on.
Let me help you by saying that with the third person narration, the narrator is limited in scope of observation, in scope of in-depth, and so on. For example, in third person narration, the narrator narrates just what he sees, what he hears, what he shares, just that. Narrates from where he finds himself, because he cannot be everywhere. So there's that limitation there. In the case of omniscient narrator, the word omniscient means knowing everything. So he is not limited by space. He is not limited by distance. He is not limited by context. Everywhere you find him there. And that is why in omniscient narrator, the narrator can comment on people's thoughts. The narrator can predict. The narrator can make judgments. The comments, prediction, judgment will not be part of third person narrator. So there's a gap between, or a difference between, the third person narrator and omniscient narrator. There is a difference between a third person narrator and omniscient narrator. Am I clear? Right. So do not let us interchange third person with omniscient. Do not let us interchange third person with omniscient. For example, if you come to the story Animal Farm, we would, those of you who have read Animal Farm, would you say it's a third person or omniscient narration?
It's a third person.
Why do you say that? Emmanuel, you don't do that in my class. You raise. Why do you say that? Yeah.
Okay, Doc. It's a third person narrator because the narrator was limited in such a way that he didn't actually know more about what the other characters were thinking. He wasn't more deep into it, but he was narrating what was happening. So I think it's third person narrator.
Manuela?
It's a third person narrative because the narrator doesn't get himself involved with whatever was going on. He narrates from afar and he sees whatever is going on in the novel, even more than those characters in the novel. He sees
Then
more than.
you are saying he's an omniscient narrator, not third person. You didn't get my question. I said, is it third person or omniscient?
Oh, okay. It's a third. He even uses the third person pronouns.
Please, we don't use the pronouns to define it. I've just said that the pronouns are used in both third person and then omniscient. That's why in limited knowledge, they will say third person or omniscient. And at this level, I'm telling you that there's a distinction between third person and omniscient. They all have some similarities. They all use third person narration, third person pronouns. But then, deeper, there are some distinctions between them. Moses.
Hello, Prof.
Yeah, let's
Please,
say,
yeah, the narrator was able to tell what he sees only, what he observed. So that makes it third person narrator.
all right, Jessica. Jessica. Mercy.
Prof, please, I would say it's omniscient point of view because it seems the narrator knew how others felt, how they thought, and then he was above the story a bit. Thank you. Please, I said I would say it's omniscient point of view because it seems the narrator knew what the animals thought, how they felt, and then it seems he was a bit above the story. He knew most of the things. Thank you.
Omniscience, because this is a narrator who is farm, right? For example, when Molly left and was able to, so when it's, then of course we are dealing with omniscient narrator. If the narrator is not giving us any extra information apart from what we all see, then of course we'll be limiting ourselves to the third person narrator. Right. Robert, let's hear you.
Sir, when you break the network break, you didn't break, you continue, so we didn't get some of the things you said. Thank you.
Is it Mercy? Usu? Yeah, Poku rather. Let's hear Opoku.
That was the same thought I wanted to share. It seems
All right.
we couldn't get it whether it was omniscient or third person. And it seems you also cited an example from the book, wanted us to know whether it was omniscient. We couldn't get it. Thank you.
I was thinking that if you look at Animal Farm, it tilts more towards omniscient than third person. And I'm saying this because, one, the narrator could sometimes tell us what happens on the other farms. We have Animal Farm here, we have the Fredericks Farm there, and then other farms around. We are told that the pigeons flew away to their other farms. And sometimes we are told how they were received. We are told when Molly left Animal Farm, she went to another farm. We are told what happened there. Right. We are also sometimes led into the minds of the characters. We are led into the mind of the characters. All these point to the omniscient narrator. A narrator who knows everything, who sees everything, who is everywhere. That is omniscient. Yes. Omniscient also uses the third person pronouns, just as the third person narrator does. But in this sense, the omniscient goes deeper into the thoughts, to give commentary, to pass judgment, to draw our attention to create suspense, introduce characters, and so on to us. That makes Animal Farm omniscient narrator more than third person narrator. As you read, I expect you to have this at the back of your minds and be able to really conclude that yes, indeed, Animal Farm is omniscient or third person. Right. So we have talked about the first person, and the first person is not because the first person used the first person pronoun, the I, the we, and so on, which is a defining feature, all right. But then the first person also gets into the story of himself. The third person is a character in the story. The first person is in the story. The story is about him. And this case, the narrator, the first person narrator, may be the main character, protagonist, or maybe a minor character in the story. Narrating. And there are several limitations to that. We may come to that later. Right. Now, if we are going by first, second, third person narratives, then there's also this one we call second person narration. Second, people are talking about it, and they say that it is where the you is used as a dominant pronoun in the narration. Let me make a confession that for me, the you, the second person pronoun, is not well grounded. For me, not well grounded. Because instances that are cited as examples of second person narration fall within the two narrations that we have. For example, if first person narration employs dialogue, and the you is used often, how does it become a second person narration? I am not dismissing the idea that there's a second person narration that people are talking about, so we can search for it. But I'm also contesting the idea that the second person narration because those that are described as second person narration can fit into third person narration or omniscient narration or first person narration. Right. Has anyone any knowledge on second person narration to share with us? Has anyone a deeper knowledge on second person narration to share with us? All right. If there isn't any, then let's continue. Let's continue. Good. All right. So I've mentioned omniscient narrator. We've talked extensively about omniscient narrator, who seems to know everything, know every character, could go into their minds and then share ideas and thoughts and so on, comments on their activities and all that. There's also what you call limited omniscient point of view. Limited omniscient point of view. Now, in limited omniscient point of view, we look at a situation where the narrator who is the omniscient narrator at a point pauses and allows a character within the story to continue with the narration. So it's like there's an internal narrator who is narrating, and there's this big omniscient narrator up there who is running commentary on the narration. Let me take it again. In omniscient narrator, the narrator says everything, tells us everything, takes us into the minds of the characters, right? But then in limited omniscient narration, there's limitation. There's limitation. Limitation in the sense that the omniscient narrator at a point allows a character in the story to tell the story. So it's like, oh, you are with them, so you tell us what's going on. So this narrator tells us what is going on. And then the omniscient narrator comes in to augment, to make commentaries, to explain things, to add information, and so on. In that sense, it is obvious that the omniscient narrator is not doing everything himself, and therefore his role is limited. That's why we call it limited omniscient narration. Omniscient point of view. The views of others are brought to bear. The views of others are brought to bear. In that situation, the omniscient narrator cannot claim absolute authority. Cannot claim absolute authority, as the omniscient narrator would do in a context where there's an absolute omniscient narrator. In this context, the omniscient narrator, the authority of the omniscient narrator gets a bit reduced. Right. We have what is also called stream of consciousness. But before that, let me go back to the limited omniscient narrator. The limited omniscient narrator can also have what you call a dramatic narration. Dramatic narration in the sense that, unlike what I said earlier, where the omniscient narrator will invite a character in the story to come and also tell the story. In the dramatic, the narrator, the omniscient narrator, leads us to scenes, scenes, to scenes, to see what is going on, to see what is going on. So you have an omniscient narrator who will say that, okay, come, stand here. Look at what's going on there, right? So then we observe, so that it becomes dramatic. There's drama in it. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. All right. So one, the limited omniscient narrator can come in two forms. One, the one that a character tells the story, continue with the narration. And then two, where we see the actions. We are led into the actions of the actions, events, scenes in the text. Right. They will come to stream of consciousness method. Can anyone explain it to us? Stream of consciousness. Stream of consciousness. Anyone to share a thought on it for us or with us? All right. Then let's be continue. It's a method. It's a method that leads readers into the minds, into the thoughts of characters. The narrative of the character. Watching a movie, then you have a character. Adam, let's hear you.
Prof, please, it was breaking, so I couldn't hear you all. Please, your network wasn't stable.
That's what people have been doing. Okay, so let's go on. Are led into the character mental flow, right? So we are led into the mind of the characters, and we do not hear the characters speaking. We do not see the characters acting, but then we are able to read the mind of characters. We are able to read the mind of the characters. So get into their conscious thoughts, get into their quiet memories, ruminations. We get into their feelings that are not said, right? And then we are able to get the information. So, strong consciousness, in some cases, is compared to what we call internal monologue. Internal monologue because the character is speaking within himself. And we venture into the thoughts of the character, the mind of the character, the mood of the character, and we get the information. Right. So strong consciousness is dissolved collection of associations, moments, and emotions in which conscious and unconscious layers pass through each other. right? That is also an approach that can be used. Now, in all these, we can also talk of multiple points of view. I call it multi-perspectival approach. Multi-perspectival approach. There's a paper you can read. Just go online. If you can do it now, I'll be happy. It's Cogent, published by Cogent Publications. Go online and you Google Nkansa as KS or SK, whatever. It is a narrative perspectives in Ghanaian hip life lyrics. Narrative perspectives in Ghanaian hip life lyrics. Has anyone found it? Yeah, has anyone found it?
Prof, please take it again.
Narrative perspectives in Ghanaian hip life lyrics. All right. So as you look for it, let us continue with our discussion. Yes, Adon, have you found it? Adon, have you found it?
Yes, please.
Robert, you found it. What's the title? Adon, what's the title?
I got to. It came as a narrative perspective in selected Ghanaian hip life lyrics.
Who wrote it?
The name is not here.
The name should be there. Yeah, Robert, have you found it?
I said it is SK in Cancer.
Yes.
SK in Cancer.
Okay,
Yes.
that's the paper. When you read that paper, you get a bit more understanding on the benefits, the relevance of a point of view, right? Though that one is more on the music, the hip life music kind of. Its application is a bit general, so you can read that one and then share thoughts on that. Good. So quickly, let's look at subject matter, themes, and a sub-theme. And I believe we'll talk about these things when we're doing drama. Joseph, your hand is up, any problem?
I say, please, I want to ask a question about the limited omniscient narrator.
What about that?
You said sometimes the limited omniscient narrator pauses and invites a character to also share his or her views or thoughts. And I would like to ask that in the narration of that character that the limited omniscient narrator invites, and his or her narration, does he or she also employ the third person pronouns, because he is part of the story, the character is part of the story, so does he or she use the first person or the third person?
What do you think?
Please, that's what I'm asking.
What do you think?
I think that he's part of the story. He's one of the characters, so he may use the first person.
Obviously.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And let me add that the limited omniscient narration is not the same as multi-perspectival narration. In multi-perspectival narration, the narrator employs a number of points of views. So if you look at in the shadows of the manner that we'll be reading, Venkatajo employs first-person narration, third-person narration, stream of consciousness, limited omniscient narration. She employs all these. So in the paper I have asked you to read, give tea. Right. In the paper I've asked you to read, if you read it, you will understand that in a particular song, for instance, the narrator, the artist, employed varied approaches. And the approaches came with some relevance, some significance, some importance, some advantages, contributing to the verisimilitude that we mentioned earlier, right? So what writers do is that they want effective means to communicate their message. There is a course titled Literary Stylistics. In that course, we analyze how effective an approach is in communicating a thought. And that is what writers do. Writers do not just present issues as they are, no, but they look at means to make the presentation very, very effective. Venkatajo's Shadows of Imana, as an example of multi-perspectival text, she uses this approach so that one, the story on trauma can be presented from many angles. And you know that when many people tell the same story, there's that strong reliability in the story. So Chimamanda will say that there's danger in one story. There's danger in one story. If the story is told just by you, you are the only one who says it this way, then there's danger. But then if you have 3, 4, 5 people saying the story you say, either the same way you say it or with a little twist or whatever, there's can be an element of truth because many people cannot lie at the same time. And that's a multi-perspective. So in Code of Nakedness, we have third-person narration, either third-person or omniscient narration. When we get there, we'll know, but then it's between the two. In Animal Farm, it is omniscient narration, but then in Shadows of Imana, it is purely multi-perspective narration. Right. Thomas, let's hear you.
Yes, Prof, in our discussions, we have not made mention of objective point of view. I want to know how it is applied when it comes to narration and its relevance.
How do you objective point of view?
It is a point of view where the narrator tells the story or narrates the story as he sees it or as it unfolds.
So which of the narrators will fall within the objective point of view?
Maybe first person.
Thomas, Baba,
Prof.
we will
Prof.
not say that. We will not say that one particular approach is objective point of view. We will not say that omniscient objective point of view. We will not say that multi-perspectival objective point of view. Neither will say first person objective point of view, because when we talk of objective point of view, activity is very much limited. And I would say that multiple than omniscient than, because if I come to, we'll talk about you look at the narrator skewing the story to reflect the good in and him. He will not talk about others, he will talk about himself. And a good example is a book titled Treasure. Robert Person to a point that he was not available to narrate. Then a 17-year-old boy who knew nothing about sailing decided to control the narration. And quickly, the objective presentation that Dr. Lyso was giving us got skewed to reflect on the strength and then the skills of this young man. So how can that one be objective? If you come to the omniscient or third person narration, the characters in the work, I mean, one or two may be a favorite of the narrator. So the narrator will project such characters and then disregard the others. So how can the narration be objective? So narratives can be objective or subjective. So if a narrator will give us opportunity to get into the characters, and then we as critics will know the characters and talk about them, then for me, that is an objective approach. But do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, Prof.
Good.
But
So
do we say that in terms of the classification, we cannot classify objective point of view as one of the methods in terms of narration?
I will not do that, because it is just a merit or demerit. It's just an advantage or disadvantage. You say this is an objective narration, because, but not that we can say that it was no. Maxwell, your hand is up.
Yeah, Prof. Hello, Prof.
Yeah. Go on.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. This one, most of the points you said, from your own perspective, you might not have the objective, but I would humbly like to ask, maybe standard or classical method, don't you have that first classification there, that maybe the first person is objective?
Maxwell, at this point, I am trying to understand you.
Okay.
Don't forget that this is degree. So we don't just accept what people have said.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So if you have read it in some comment should be somewhere. And let me say this one, I don't respect teachers who teach with commentaries. I don't respect literature teachers or English teachers who teach with commentaries. If you don't know what you're teaching.
Okay.
As a teacher, you must know what there is in the book, so you can talk about it with knowledge and confidence. And if you do it that way, your students will love what you are teaching, they will understand it, they will appreciate it. But if you ask them to go and buy the A1, A2s to read, the QLS to read, and they go and chew and pour and pass, you don't show yourself as a strong person. I will not say yeah, I will not refer to any of the approaches as more objective than the others. If objective, show us why it's objective. If it's subjective, show us why it is subjective. Is that right?
Yes,
but
please.
Then the identifications that we can talk about are those that we have mentioned. If there are others, let us look at what are in them, and then we can talk about them. The next topic we are talking about is an issue of serious contention. Many people confuse themselves and they describe what you call subject matters as themes, right? Many people who don't really understand some of these terms, they refer to subject matters as themes. So you hear people say the theme of love, the theme of happiness. It's not possible. Because as we did in our drama class, we said that, for example, let's use the Bible. What do you think is the most dominant subject matter in the Bible? Those who are Bible readers, I will not say Christians. What is the most dominant, one most dominant word, one thing, one word that the Bible is so much about? Yes, Mercy.
Prof. Love.
Thank you. Thank you. Next time you see me, remind me to give you Alewa. Now, it is love. But then we have so many other books too that talk about love. So why do we say that the Bible, the theme of the Bible is love? No. It is too big a word for even the Bible to talk about. And therefore, we can have aspects of love. Can someone tell us this aspect of love discussed in the Bible? There's one aspect of love discussed throughout the Bible in sub themes and sub whatever subplots in the Bible. Who can tell us? Yeah, Selena.
Prof, please, I think it's about loving your neighbor as thyself.
I see. Abigail. Abigail. Steven. Uh-huh.
So please, it's about unconditional love.
That's also a separate matter. Yes, let's see.
Agape love.
Ophelia. Philly? All right. Master, is a hand up or down? Yeah, let's hear you. Bismarck.
Yeah, love for God.
I see. All right. For me, what I see in the Bible is God's redemptive love for mankind. God's redemptive, REDEMPTIVE, love for mankind. And I say this because it is this concept that has been developed from Genesis, the moment the snake deceived Eve, for Eve to also deceive men, through to Revelation. This is what all that God is trying to do in the book. Redeeming his people from one level to another, redeeming his people from one state to another, redeeming to another, redeeming, until he will say that we'll go to heaven. But then the seventh matter there is what? Love. Too big. We can have salvation. It's also there. We can have sin. It's also there. We can have condemnation. It's also there. We can have a lot of separate matters there. Different types of love shown. God's love, people's love, love of killing, and all those things, they are all there. But the major thing is that God's intention to redeem mankind from a bad state to a better state. That is what runs through the whole Bible. You can take your time and read it, and you see. So therefore, our discussion here should put you a bit above those who think that we can talk about the theme of love, the theme of salvation, the theme of this. No, these are not. Which aspect of this seventh matter are you talking about? What is so specific to the text you are reading? That gives you the theme. So I said that the seventh matter is usually, yes, the central idea, but it's too broad, too general in a text. And therefore, the theme refers to the specific central idea, the specific idea that is developed in the work. And it is usually presented in a sentence, a statement, a question. Whereas the subject matter is usually presented in one word or a phrase. It's usually presented in words or phrases. Right. There's a hand here. Is it Bismarck? Bismarck, your hand is up. Any problem?
Oh, please, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, Mercy, let's hear you.
Okay, Prof, please, with regards to the explanation you just gave, meaning that when you want to, we are told that the subject matter is the summary of the entire text. So, and you are saying that the subject matter should be stated in a phrase, that is a sentence. So, how are you supposed to do that?
Please, hold on. I've not said subject matter is presented in a phrase or a sentence. I've not said that. Who can correct it, please? Yes, Maxwell.
It is the theme which is normally written in a sentence form, in a complete sentence.
Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you.
The subject matter is one word or a phrase. It can be a noun phrase. But the theme makes a complete meaning. And therefore, captured as
Yes, Prof. Yes, Prof. God bless you.
Thank you. So subject matter to talk about, we expect you to broach it from and we have survivor. We have manipulation as a first matter. And then I want to look at Mr. Mysterious as a manipulator who wants to survive, right? And I want to devise a theme around these words. Then I can go specific and say that manipulation as a tool of survival in Code of Nakedness. Am I right? Definitely, if I look at manipulation as a tool of survival in Code of Nakedness, then Mr. Mysterious is there. Then I can talk about Mr. Mysterious manipulating Mr. Denny, manipulating Bukhari, manipulating the 419 boys, manipulating all other characters in the book for him to survive. If I start to talk about exploitation, then I can also have something out of it. So there's a specific aspect of the subject matter that get discussed in the book. In the book. Right. So that's the difference between subject matter and the theme. Subject matter and the theme. Take note, if at any point in time I ask you to talk about subject matter, different between subject matter then the theme, give it to me beautifully. Give it to me beautifully. Do not play around. Be direct. Good. So we will look at the theme. The theme, others would say, is the abstract concept or idea which is made concrete through its representations in persons, actions, images, etc. Right. So there's this abstract concept there. So you go to the book, you read this. Okay, that is Mr. Mysterious. Okay, he's manipulating Bukhari. Try to manipulate Baba. Okay, you also want to manipulate Kujansa, but Kujansa doesn't want to agree. Okay, he's giving the boys, marijuana and the rest to smoke. Now he's selling it to them. Oh, so he's manipulating them. He's getting them to be angry against Kujansa, so they don't care. All these things. Which aspect? These are all abstract ideas. But how are these clearly seen? So in the characters, in the actions, and all those things make the abstract idea concrete in the work. So let me draw a very good distinction here. There's something called didactic lesson. Didactic lesson in the literary text. Who understand what it is? Didactic lesson. Yeah, let's hear you. Pascal.
It means it teaches a moral lesson.
Thank you. The lesson that we learn. Take note that the lesson may not necessarily be the theme. I said that the lesson may not necessarily be the theme, but sometimes the lesson can also be a theme. So when we say, what did you learn What did you learn from this work? Then you are looking at it. The saying central idea, which may not be a lesson. Now, of the social media material that you watch, there are sometimes some things that you watch, they look beautiful. They are messages that they share, but they're not messages that you want to take home as lessons. Am I right? Am I right?
Yes, bro.
They may not be lessons that you want to take home. So in situations, we can talk of the themes are there. For example, there's one I watched. And then it's like the creator want to say that stolen meat is sweeter. Stolen meat is sweeter. That if there's something that you didn't work for, you didn't struggle for, but just came your way and you're enjoying it, it's so nice. But is that a lesson that we want to learn in life? That I will not work, go about and take it from people who have. Is it a lesson? No. But the theme is there. That's a central idea. That's a central idea. But that's not a lesson. So there's a distinction between the central idea of the work and the lessons that we learn. I don't know if lessons can be negative or positive. But even if it is negative, we learn the positive aspect of the negative and not the negative aspect. I don't know. Am I right? I will learn the positive of the negative and not the negative of the negative. All right. So as you read around, please, I am trying to push for a point where we will understand what we are saying and not that we are saying because somebody has said that's how it is. No. And that's why I said I don't really appreciate teachers who teach literature with commentary books. Because the commentary books, you're just passing on somebody's ideas. You're just passing on someone's ideas. And you will not have time to interrogate the person's ideas. You just pick it and go and stand there and then share with your students. No. And that's why students don't really like this kind of analysis. Because of the way we teach them. Right. Yeah, Maxwell, let's hear you.
So, Prof, can I say that the theme is the central or the main idea a literal work put across, not necessarily the lesson one learns?
Sure. And it is specific to
a
text.
Okay, yeah, particular text. Okay.
Right. So we are going on to say that it is not written anywhere in the work, but it is you who must find it. But then as you read the work, it will ring in your ear. It will tell you that this is what I am about. This is what I am about. This is what I'm about. And yours will be to find it. Right? Let me mention that writers sometimes concentrate on specific things, but concentrate on specific subject matters which develop into specific things. For example, if I take somebody like Amata Edu, Amata Edu will talk about the woman in her work as a separate matter. Then she'll get us to look at what aspect of the woman are we talking about? What aspect of the woman are we talking about? For example, in changes, Amata Edu talk about a love story. And in the love story, she talk about the place of rape in marriage. The place of rape in marriage, or the effect of rape in marriage. But we will not go about saying that husbands should rape their wives, or wives should rape their husbands. But I should ask you, if it happens, what will you do? If a husband rapes you, what will you do? If a wife rapes you, what will you do? These are issues. So writers have specific issues that they deal with, though in every work, they may give it a different thing. Right. Some time ago in Africa, if you pick any book from certain part of Africa, they'll be talking about apartheid system. But today, no, they don't talk about apartheid system because apartheid is gone. Apartheid is gone. Good. Now, let me also mention that just as we have talked about subplots, so can we talk about sub-themes? Right. So can we talk about sub-themes? And by sub-themes, I'm referring to those small themes in small corners in the book that come together to give us the bigger theme in the book. For example, if we talk of code of nakedness, there's a very big theme there. And the theme has to do with exploitation as a tool of survival in contemporary society, right? Exploitation as a tool of survival in contemporary society. But then in this, we can talk of exploitation of the poor by the rich. That's the same thing. We can talk of exploitation of the vulnerable by the strong in the society. And in this sense, you agree with me that Mr. Deyi, who is rich, is vulnerable and is exploited by mystic mysterious in the book. We can talk of exploitation of children in the book, where you have Baba exploited by mystic mysterious. Now you put all these together as sub themes. They are all pointing to the fact that all the exploitations we see in the book are all means of what? Surviving. So that you will have other characters also exploiting other minor characters in the book to survive. There's sub themes and then major. But there are several sub themes that feed the bigger themes. If you go to Shadow of the Manor, you have several sub themes. Please, any question after this point? Any question? Can we hear you?
All right, Prof. Please, I wanted you to help me assess a point I jotted down about lesson and theme. Please, I wrote that the lesson may not necessarily be the theme and vice versa.
Mercy, let's hear you.
I said that. Prof, I'm talking, please. Hello, Prof.
Yeah, let's go on.
Prof, please,
Mercy,
I
go
wanted
on.
you to. All right, Prof. Please, I wanted you to help me assess a point I jotted down. And it reads, the lesson may not necessarily be the theme, and vice versa. Please, can I make use of this point, please?
Yeah, you will.
All right, Prof. Please, I'm saying that I wanted you to help me assess a point I've jotted down during your lecture about lesson and theme, the difference between the two. And I wanted to ask if you could say that the lesson may not necessarily be the theme and vice versa, please.
This is something we talked about. We concluded on that, right? So, Maxwell, let's hear you.
Okay, concerning the sub teams on the code of nakedness, but can I say sometimes spiritual leaders or high powerful people sometimes exploit the vulnerable.
Is it in the book? Maxwell, is it in the book?
Yes, please.
Which page?
Because the mystic man pulls as somebody who has some magical powers, and
That's not true. Mr. Mysterious never used magical powers. His name, have you read the book?
Oh, I read to some extent. I've not finished.
And then read the book.
Okay.
Good. All right. So on that note, we will bring the class to a close. Tomorrow we are meeting at 6 o'clock in the morning to work on the book titled Animal Farm. So please, if you have not read it, try and read it today before tomorrow AM so we can discuss it. Adam, your hand is up. Any problem?
Yes, please, Prof. Please, this one is a plea. Maybe if we can reschedule our time because I think today is 31st and most of us will be maybe going for watch nights and others. And if we start the lesson at 6, some of us may doze off. Oh, Yakubu, I know you not go, but most, I said most. So if please,
to go? Me, I will go.
yes,
I'll
but
go.
we may doze off the time
I'll
that
go.
we may return. No?
Yeah, so what do you suggest?
6,
Because
not like, yes, sir.
Let's leave it at that.
Even
Want
today, I don't talk
about we want the early morning lectures. We can also do certain things after the lectures.
All right. So we'll meet at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Good morning.
Yes, boss.
Have a beautiful day.
So there's no change of the time.
No, we are meeting at 6 o'clock. Yeah.
I will be dozing off.
Oh.
Yes,
But I said it. None of you came to support. So if others says it's
That is what
fine,
I'm supporting.
no, nobody came to voice out. So
We
at
are
least if
supporting you,
someone
madam. We are
came
supporting
to
you.
support
The
us
early
by
morning
now, maybe.
class, the 6 o'clock class is not
The 6 o'clock class is not
But
helping.
you guys couldn't voice out. You couldn't voice out.
But you said it and we
It's not that.
supported you.
But our colleague said it's we are not. It's going to help them. So and the prof agreed to that.
Adam,
So
you know
let's
there was no room for that. I wanted to raise my hand and seconded you, but there was no room for that.
please, you could have unmute yourself. This time someone unmuted and well,
No, looks
we are
like he
all in this
himself
together.
is comfortable with a 6. So
Somebody supported the idea that the time shouldn't be changed. That's
Yes,
why he stuck to the time, because he suggested, he
yes.
asked us for a suggestion for the time that we should meet, and no one
What
talked.
do we think? Yes. He said, what do we think?
on
Nobody
the
talked.
record,
So it's tomorrow morning.
so the first person that spoke, he concluded on that. He
Yes.
didn't make room for
No, change.
many suggestions.
They
So
said
immediately
it's
the other
helping them.
person
So
talked, he agreed on that.
But when he says so, I
So
also
let's
mentioned that the sis will be dozing off. And he insisted
at
on
yes,
that
the
but
at that
time.
the other
at
Sometimes
that
by
time,
when
the
they
at
other
were
that
leaving,
person
time, when the
came
nobody
decision
before.
has
came.
been made, the decision was made before you came
Brakofi,
in. So now
that
Yeah.
person spoke before you did.
let's meet
So he
tomorrow.
captured that and
Yes.
talked, you know how Prof is. Please, let's not
If you will,
debate it.
let's stop that, because Prof already made his mind, and then there is it's very difficult, or there's no way to change it. That's why he gets do that way, and then he didn't allow room for
He
this.
asked.
You know,
He asked,
even
"What
Sunday
do
you
we
can write
think?"
exams.
He asked. He wasn't imposing it on us. He wasn't imposing it on us. He asked, "What do we think?" And none of us came to voice out. So
But
we
madam,
shall
one
meet
person
tomorrow.
spoke to support, but two
Yes.
people or three
At that
against
time,
it.
He
I
asked
think
us,
3 people were against it.
no
Even
one talk,
Not
someone
three
relax.
people
came.
were against it, but he didn't
No
take the
one
three
talk.
people. He only took the one.
Calm down.
I please,
So
I also
Three
think.
people were against it, but
Hello,
majority carries the
supported
vote.
it.
We
So
spoke. We spoke.
hello,
We supported you.
Abdul, what is the goal of contention now?
hello. Please, I also think Prof had made up his mind, because he replied that he would also go for the 31st night, which means
but he also
He
came out
later
as he
asked us,
asked,
what do we
what
think?
do
And
we think?
others started giving thumbs down. Others started giving thumbs down. So how do you suggest something when he has given us the go ahead to suggest a time, and some people were giving a thumbs down
Yes.
that it wasn't necessary?
My dear, let's go for our watch night and come and sleep over here. You come, you'll be dozing off. Some of us we will close early around 10 a.m. Yes, yes. And I even
Now,
said,
how
hey,
many Muslims
Yakubu,
do you have here? How many Muslims do you have here?
it's not about Muslims. We know some people with Muslim name, but they are Christian. Me myself, I'm not a Christian, but I have something to do at this time. So it's not about someone being a Muslim or a Christian. It's a thing that maybe some people have things to do, but all the same, we shall meet tomorrow.
Abdul, we have to match on the Asia. They cry and dry. I'm sorry. I felt cry. Sorry, cry. Oh, I just woke up around 7:34. We have closed. You see, but it's normal. You can't. You guys allow things to go so that we can.
We close
Because
at 8,
our argument
please.
are not
It
going
was
anything.
8:02. My dear,
Well,
please,
personally,
now
when
we
I
have
joined, it's
seconded.
not even up to 10 minutes that he closes. Because I
Then
didn't
you
wake
didn't
up
come
early to
early. He
check the
started at
platform.
exactly 6 o'clock. He started at exactly 6 o'clock. So you slept too deep. You
So
could have
where
woken
did
up
he start?
early.
We want to know where he started at the 6 so
He
that we can
started
also.
at 6 o'clock. It was exactly 6.
So what was the first topic he started with? Because today seems to be our first time of joining.
My brother, you have a long way to go.
Wait.
There even with that, my I was there, but I can't even remember how he started it. So, my dear, please, I beg you. This course, it shall be well.
You see, this course, this
I
course
don't
is
know.
easy if this course will be easy if we get each
Yes,
other to
ma.
be we're doing group studies.
And I don't patch out as a shapa.
I think comedy.
I think of it.
I think I said, any night in come, yeah, we any agent.
I think that's any area.
Yeah, we are soon any game. And I don't patch out Andra, you
No,
may.
yeah, yes.
I know you may listen. Nam a Hanuman see to never bomb pinty. Manty me,
If I tell them I do like improvement manager, you do like.
Last night was this a lesson ongoing?
Yes, sir. I think yesterday's evening. It
What was the course?
Introduction to literature.
Okay. I am not doing that.
Was it oral literature?
And that was it was aura. Yeah. Auntie, were you able to join?
No, I wasn't around. We were having light out.
Okay.
Sister Adam.
We joined.
Please, if I can get your contact, it seems you are a regular student.
I'm not a regular student, I bet.
You are more or less punctual than I do.
I'm not a regular student. So now we are on vacation. Everyone is enjoying for yourself. So please allow us to enjoy in peace. Okay, you can have it. 955 I've been coming to Auntie Doris. I miss you. Auntie Doris, I miss you so much. Oh, after vacation. Even myself, I hardly get in touch with my books. So
I've also traveled. So after vacation, then
same here. I've come to my mom's place, and you see, family. You don't even have time to learn. So
you don't even have time to learn.
Sure. The way that I'm struggling, anytime that I have lectures like this, I have to leave my house and go to my brother's house before I can have class. My place is very, very noisy.
Okay, then let's start the discussion after the festivity.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Welcome.
Yes.
So let's meet tomorrow, okay? Let's come and do some. Yes, ma. Yes, ma.
Boko dear.
But I hope I do on a month's way.
Me adu me nso ehu yo. Enra me hu wo twi class o.
You do light oh. You do light in Sinaja anything.
Oh, sorry.
And I do like an on there. Wouldn't you mean sure in Sinesa? Na network in so so set network in so and shut down yes a bunch naja. By the
class we abeshia Christmas ni ge ya femu.
Yeah, some
But
we don't have an
be kind Enra, yeah, na ko pese on kan ho asem tire. Obi man am so Enra, yeah, so you know be kind be afam.
Oh, okay, but someone can share more and I'm heading.
Insuye.
Oh, okay.
Insuye.
Oh, say come over and come ma be full soon kakra.
Wa sho.
Ye na nye se o kai o, Enra de o be ye o hu bi papa.
So that mean you. And yes, I think Thursday we shall meet, right?
Yes, of course.
Thursday
Yes,
evening, right?
Thursday
evening. But we are seeing no after vacation. Maybe because of me identity, we may be a crowd for any of this. The mom could do station.
Okay.
The hand they did want me to do.
I need them kwa.
I need you saying.
Enra lesson so enra